xerostomia, enlargement of salivary and lacrimal glands, is seen in, and the options are Zika syndrome, Sjogren's syndrome, Mikulic's disease, and none of the above. Now, all of the following options are salivary gland pathologies. Sjogren's syndrome and Zika syndrome are associated with xerostomia, which we definitely know. So, here is a small flowchart that helps us understand. Sjogren's syndrome is an autoimmune disorder, commoner in women, typically in women, and there are immune cells that attack the exocrine gland. It affects the salivary gland and the lacrimal glands, but not necessarily causes enlargement. Okay, there is no enlargement as such. There could be episodic enlargement of salivary glands, but not persistent. So there are two types of Sjogren's syndrome: the primary type and the secondary type. The primary type occurs alone, Zika syndrome. Okay, and it is usually associated with dry mouth and dry eyes. Secondary syndrome is associated with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and scleroderma, that are the other autoimmune diseases. So, if it is only dry mouth and dry eyes, it is called Zika syndrome, and if there are other underlying autoimmune pathologies, then it is known as secondary Sjogren's syndrome. Now, the third option here is Mikulic's disease. What is Mikulic's disease? So, Mikulic's disease is a chronic salivary gland condition only that causes enlargement of the salivary and lacrimal glands. So, there is xerostomia initially that causes difficulty in swallowing, and there is tooth decay. And the salivary glands are so enlarged, the lacrimal glands are very enlarged, and they are highly visible. Okay. So, as you can see in the image, there is a progression of enlargement of salivary and lacrimal glands. It gives a very puffed up appearance to the patient, leading to absence or decreased tears and painless swellings of the gland, especially the parotid and the submaxillary. Some other key points to remember between the Zika syndrome, between Sjogren's syndrome and Mikulic's disease, is the age of onset is a little higher for Mikulic's disease, and Sjogren's syndrome is typically characterized in females. So I'll just write it down for you. Sjogren's is more common in females. The gland swelling is more common in Mikulic's. So swelling is a typical feature of Mikulic's disease. Xerostomia can be common in both. Dysfunction of salivary secretion, that is xerostomia. Then keratoconjunctivitis is also common in both. Response to steroid is good in Mikulic's disease, and sometimes it may be on off in Sjogren's syndrome. Immunoglobulins are normal to high in both. They could be much higher in Mikulic's disease, and anti-SSA and SSB antibodies are positive in Sjogren's syndrome. That is one typical feature because it is an autoimmune condition. And gland biopsy shows infiltration of abundant immunoglobulin 4 in Mikulic's disease, which is not there in Sjogren's syndrome. So the question is again xerostomia and enlargement of the glands. So the correct answer is 3, Mikulic's disease.